Ended up with a guy named Jeff Peacock in Toronto, and he was first thing he did was like, we got to learn, you want rock and roll and you want to play, jazz, you want to play whatever you have to learn the blues.
Right.
And so I was like, I already know a little bit about the blues, and so we got off well, and he kept giving me every lesson, every week I'd go, he would write down on a piece of paper a record to go and buy, and I'd usually go to Sam the Record Man. This was in Toronto where I was
going to say, he's in Toronto.
Yeah, I grew up in Toronto.
I see, okay.
Yeah, and so I'd go to Sam the Record Man and get that record and maybe an extra one,
right.
And go home and play those and learn the riffs that he taught me from those records. And so that was a really defining moment when I was 16. And then I came out here and I was playing with a cousin of mine, and blues was coming into it. He was kind of a folk singer-songwriter kind of guy. I was playing electric guitar behind him in a kind of acoustic setting. And
here,
in Calgary, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was my first exposure to the scene here. Was through my cousin, and that was like late '70s, early '80s.
Right.
And then I met a guy who was managing CJSW, a guy named Grant Burns. And Grant. And he had either just stumbled across or came down to see me play at a club called Slack Alice, and he got up and played harmonica frantically.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and approached me not long after and said, "You're a blues guy. How about doing a blues show on CJSW?" And so I went and did that. I thought I knew what I was doing. I had about maybe 25 records.
Right.
And I thought I had a depth of understanding that wasn't even the surface. Didn't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, well,
But what a way to learn. And
exactly.
I got to interview everybody on that show. I got to interview all the guys that played the Eddie. All that.
Well, you know what? And since you mentioned it, I have to ask you this because I've been trying to find this dude's name and I can't. And I know I'm not wrong, but it was, as we've already said, back in caveman days. So one of the few times I wandered through the station, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was actually subbing for somebody. I don't know what I was doing. Anyways, and this giant came out of the booth. You were doing a show, and the guy is built like a linebacker. And later on, I swear, when I saw the Blues Brothers, that he's the guitarist that was in the Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was definitely that's what
What's
it was.
his name?
Yeah, Matt Guitar Murphy.
Matt Guitar Murphy. God almighty! I've been 4 days now. I've been going, what the fuck? And I'm like, Gatemouth Brown. No, I'm like, oh shit, no. And I'm going through stuff. Him.
Yeah. A short linebacker, but yeah.
But like this wide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And a smile bigger than his face.
That's right.
It was awesome.
That's Matt. Yeah, that's Matt.
So then my interest, or something that I wonder now, and maybe the time frame is too distant, but who knows? So did you find a difference when you moved out here musically? Like, I mean, you mentioned out here you started hitting a sort of a folk band thing, whereas out there you're actually being trained by a blues teacher. Like, did you notice a difference in the musical taste?
Well, I don't know about that. I certainly sensed or got hip to the fact that there was a pretty big country scene at that time, late 70s, early 80s, that had some really serious players.
Yeah. One
of which I got to play with years later. But I'd go see Dick Dameron and Danny Mac. And some of these real important legendary Alberta, Western Canadian country guys.
Right.
And so that was certainly different because you didn't see that much in Toronto.
No.
But there was also a kind of a big rock scene and new wave kind of scene. And,
right.
And
you mean here?
Yeah. And so I was kind of glomming onto all of that, and then when I started doing the CJSW radio show, I kind of figured I stumbled across the King Eddie, which had just opened at the same time, or started doing blues at the same time.
Yeah.
So we developed a relationship, and I went there all the time, and so that also. I mean, I saw a lot of great blues players in Toronto when I was very, very young, but it was nothing like here, where it was just so approachable. You could go to the King Eddie, 6 nights a week,
Yeah.
and just sit with, some nights there'd hardly be anybody there.
Yeah.
You could get to know the artist. There
Right.
was no barrier, no security, no.
Oh,
it was really
I see.
casual.
Right.
That was different, because in Toronto it was, you go to see a blues artist and it was a little more structured and a little more star kind of.
Do you think that was just from age, your own age difference, or did it actually seem like a different?
It seemed different.
Yeah.
It seemed different. Yeah. But it may have also been that I kind of quickly became part of this scene, whereas in Toronto, one of my regrets leaving Toronto was leaving this particular guitar teacher, because I think I'd probably play better today if I'd stuck around 5 more years. I also kind of felt like when I moved out here, things sparked, and I kind of started really being able to move forward with my music within the scene here.
Right.
And I don't know if that might have been just about to be triggered in Toronto, and that might have been fun to do it there too.
Right.
But it's worked out really well here, and I've never regretted that. And
Well, I mean, we can always second guess where we are and how we got there and what.
Well, but it's asking that comparison. It's
Right.
bringing it into light of that comparison
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
That I do compare the sort of realities of having grown up and being enormously influenced by the scene that I was part of in Toronto,
Right.
more as an audience member
Right.
and as a student of the music than part of a performer within the circuit, but hugely influential on me. In fact, I'm writing a song right now that's kind of about my earliest days of going up and down Yonge Street and sensing what was going on there.
Oh, yeah.
And, sneaking into a few places and seeing some cool people.
Well, and there's 3 parts there that takes me down. One is, of course, music in Toronto. I mean, I'm assuming the venues are probably a lot bigger than this one. Maybe yes.
Everything. I mean, back then there were all sorts of. It was very different. There were all sorts of venues. There were very different kinds of venues.
Right.
Dinner clubs and things like this that were, this going back to late 50s, early 60s. Even.
Right.
Not for me to be there, but in terms of its history, and that even influenced me because I'm interested in what went on there. But when I really started going to clubs in Toronto in the 70s and late 70s and early 80s. There were different liquor laws and different. It was just way different. Live music was way different.
Of course.
There were bars up and down Yonge Street and all around the downtown.
Right.
Probably 40 or 50 or 60 places to go see live music on a given
Right.
night. Crazy.
40.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, easily.
See, and in that time, at that time, there's probably 40 in this whole city, if we're lucky. Because which is so. And one of the reasons why there is a MUSICAlive magazine is because so between this sort of golden age into the 90s that we sort of have discussed when things were really interesting here, and then I'm a very cynical person about Calgary in general, so including what happened in the arts, and I became a parent, and I kind of detached from that until 2000. Really, I was really quite attached to arts and performance in the city, and then I went on. I was a parent. I was trying to do other stuff, and I've given up doing other stuff because this is so much, and it's also what I do better. And then about 2010, 2012, somewhere in there, I started to pay attention, and I know what it was. I think it was around 2012, I ran into the idea of Sled Island. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I had started writing for Examiner, and I encountered Sled Island somehow. And I was like, how many bands? How many venues? Like, and my mind exploded. Like, I had no idea, like, let alone the rest of the year. I mean, that's what, 2 weeks or something? That there was this much potentially going on, and of course a lot of the bands are local, and I went, holy shit, Calgary is like
always, yeah.
Calgary has grown It's a different universe. And so since then, I've been just amazed because there is, I mean, that was around the time I started to come here for the first time, and all these other places, you know, it's a different scenario, but it's because, I'm assuming, it's because there's a lot of youth who want the same things that we wanted in 25 years earlier. In fact, one of my favorite moments was I was interviewing.
We've got a visitor here.
Oh,
hi.
Hello, sorry, I'm just a little mouse.
Don't apologize for food. Never apologize.
You're looking pretty low on your beer. Did you want another?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Perfect. All right, I'll let you continue your conversation.
Thanks.
Oh, there's no food. Sad. Misha and the Smanks?
Yes.
So I was interviewing her a few years ago, and she was talking about vinyl, and I started to complain. I said, where were you like 20 years ago when vinyl was dying? And she says, well, I was 4.
Right.
And that was kind of a turn in my head alignment, because there's like this gap in the middle, and this gap around my daughter's age, frankly, and a bit up. They are doing this stuff that's incredibly rich, and they're appreciating they're appreciating the stuff that interests us because it's just music again. And Calgary does have this activity going on, despite there being a pandemic and despite us struggling with that. So this reinvigorated my interest and exploded the variety of stuff that I could talk about. And so actually, which brings me to something that I want to address specifically is, back when
Here we go with our food.
Oh, nice.
Coming right up.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm in a good mood making you jump.
Good. Well, so am I.
Oh my god.
I'm probably in I don't know about a better mood, but
Wow. Maybe equal.
we're all happy. He seems to be happy. Are you happy?
I'm in a great mood.
There you go.
Good.
It's a happy place.
We're all happy.
Especially with my chili in front of me.
There you go.
Literally, with that right there, you're beaming.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Thanks so
enjoy.
much.
Thank you. And you mentioned this yourself, right? I mean, the origins of, we won't go far down that road, but let's talk about it. Like the origin, the initiation of white guys in the 70s was through big rock, right? Led Zeppelin and Cream and all stuff like that, and we're like, there's blues? And then I started listening to the blues, and I'm like, wow, this is almost, it's like eating spoonfuls of sugar. I actually had to restrict my intake of blues. Because it's so emotionally enchanting. But what you're doing, what was it, the 20th? When was the election? 20th, I think? 30th?
In September, you mean?
Well, whenever I saw you.
Right.
Wasn't that the 20th?
Yeah, I think you're right. I just played last night at the Blues Can as well, so on election night again, so I get confused. But but yeah,
It's a theme.
I'm the official Blues Can election
night.
commentator.
Apparently you are.
Anyway,
And what you were doing, and I noticed this so I was there, I saw this name, Dice Deluxe. I just used to go there on Wednesday nights because it was before there was a cover charge, and I could eat and drink and listen to blues and Dice Deluxe, and then they mentioned John Rutherford on guitar somewhere. I don't know what and I went, and what is he doing? Honestly, that was like, what the hell is he doing? He's not playing lead, he's playing rhythm, but he's not playing rhythm, he's playing this melodic harmonic stuff. It's like jazz, but it's not jazz, it's blues, so he's playing jazz blues, and I mean, and that's a whole mess in there.
Right. No, you got that's a really I'm happy to hear that observation, because that's really what I'm about. Is I'm a blues guy, but I'm not really into kind of like playing it in the most traditional way or trying to mimic, and I use that word carefully, because those who can do it and can do it well, I admire enormously. Those who can pull off a Muddy Waters tune with that, authenticity and that flair and that tonality and whatever, I mean, that's hard to do, and only certain people can do it, and I'm not one of them. My thing is a much more kind of a further evolution of the blues, or it's like being part of the evolution of the music. So it's expressed in so many different ways, and I'm just trying to find my own way to do it.
Right.
And it does include jazz, as I listen to an enormous amount of jazz in my older age now, and I also listen to pop music, and I listen to rock music. I listen to singer-songwriters,
Right.
reggae, funk music, soul, R&B, and so I try not to stay too pigeonholed into the blues, but it is my bass root, and I want my record to fall into the blues category. I hope that people dig a newer take or a different take. But yeah, I got a lot of chording that's very jazzy, and a lot of licks and stuff that are. I'm a big Wes Montgomery fan.
Oh yeah. He's jazz.
Yeah.
That's about all I know. And a guitarist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So when you say evolution of the blues, I'm sorry, that sounds like what's the word when you got opposite terms in the same phrase?
Oxymoron, or
Yeah.
right.
Evolution of the blues, because I mean,
Right.
you know, I mean, if we're talking about another form, like I don't know, like "Babe, I'm Going to Leave You" or something, right? Where I mean, it may come from the blues, but it's no longer the blues. So I always have thought of blues as being sort of a farming ground that you plant stuff in. So I hadn't thought about it evolving. Do you think it is evolving? Do you think there's stuff there?
I think it's always been evolving. I think it's the right word. That may be the wrong word, but I think it's always been evolving. It's always, it started as an acoustic, acoustic front porch field music, or a very, regional and local and rootsy acoustic kind of expression. And then electric blues, with the advent of electricity, it evolved to the electric blues. And, so I think evolution's a fair word for it.
I guess so. I mean, of course,
Maybe it's just reinventing or re-expressing or
right.
having an original take. I listen to somebody like Mose Allison, just like incredible, combination of jazz and blues together, but just a completely original expression. Original voice in his vocal, and original voice in his piano and his arrangements. And I think he's a blues artist. It's
right. Well, and to be honest, strangely, the path I've taken, I can't be a specialist in anything because, frankly, I'd get bored too quickly.
sure.
I got Louis Armstrong is next to Bach in my music, in my record library.
Yeah,
and
that's how I would. Yeah.
yeah. So I've only got.
I'm not a music snob either. I like I'm a huge fan of like Max Webster, and a huge fan of all sorts of Canadian bands and all sorts of bands that have just pop, like really radio friendly, popular rock bands that aren't so underground or cool to like. But if I like it, I like it. But
do you play any of that stuff?
no, not really. Not really.
Well, let's contemplate the stuff that you were playing on the other election night.
Yeah.
The federal election.
Yeah.
I have to castigate you because you didn't announce anything, so I have no idea what you were playing. I didn't recognize any of it, so I assumed a large portion of it was original, but it's also blues, so that means, to my mind, by definition, it can't all be original because. Just because.
Well, what you fell upon on that Monday night, to some degree, and it's kind of what I do with my solo shows now that are at the Blues Can and are the sort of Monday night and afternoon happy hour shows and things that I do solo. I've been experimenting a lot with working with the loop pedal, right? So I'm creating these recordings on stage and playing over top of them. And so I'm kind of jamming on stuff, and I'll actually like invent a song while I'm playing, while I'm sitting there. So I'll stop and I'll think, what do I want to play? Right. And I'll just start with a chord, and I'll lay down a progression. I'll loop it tape it onto the looper, record it onto the looper, and then just play on top of it and continue to develop it for 5 minutes, and that's a song for that night. And so I was thinking about one I did last night where I really liked it, and I'd wished I'd somehow captured it because I think it could be turned into something, but it's gone now. It was of the moment, and you were catching some of that happening, as well as me interjecting songs that I use in my repertoire on a regular basis. So if I'm singing like I'm Ready, that's a song I use all the time, and then I'll dip to something that I've never played before in my life, right there in the... I even sing lyrics I've never sung before, I've never written, never let them flow.
You mean you improvise them, or you just...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So...
And if the crowd gets bigger, then I stick more to my repertoire, my plan. But
right, yeah.
But you got, I think people. It's really amazing the response I get from doing that. People really like it, and when these Monday nights and these happy hours, there are occasions where people want to talk and visit, and they love having the music in the background and a few surprises. But sometimes the vocals are just kind of lost or detract or create too much stuff going on. So it's been working well for me, but that's what you kind of caught was me kind of jamming with a loop pedal.
Right. Well, and that's what Tom told me because I was listening to it and I was thinking, wow, it's like he just become unbelievable on the guitar.
Exactly.
Is he alone? And he said he seems to be playing on top of himself.
Yeah. It's a recording device. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
hooked up to my foot.
For your interest, the most, and it worked, obviously. I mean, well, anyways, it did. The most dramatic use of it I've seen, and since you mentioned you're interested in different kinds of musics, there's a Calgary artist, her name is Funya. She's a violinist.
Yeah.
Have you heard of her?
I think I've seen some of her work, yeah.
And it's just her and a violin and a looper. And until when you did it, it was only the second time I've seen it done with a solo performer, and she would layer like 4 or 5 layers. Yeah. Like it took me, of course I can't see what's going on, but I could hear what was happening.
You can't really see it anyway, but you don't see anything.
It works. It can work.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. And I'm just starting to experiment with more than one track. So I'm getting there. Right. But my looper can record about 100 tracks over top of each other. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I forget what the name of that 2012 album was.
Echo Broadcast, yeah.
Right. So, what's the last thing you released?
As a solo artist, I haven't released another record. So it's been 12 years, 11 years, but I'm working on one right now. In fact, I'm in the studio tomorrow doing demos for songwriting to send to a couple songwriters that I'm hoping will help me with some things.
Okay.
But so a new record's in the works. But after I recorded Echo Broadcast, I did a bunch of things, some pretty interesting stuff. It opened doors for some interesting opportunities, and shortly after that record came out, I did a pretty big CD release tour and played big festivals like the Edmonton Folk Fest, and out west at the Vancouver Island Music Fest, and Harrison Hot Springs, and all sorts of places.
As a solo artist?
Yes, in all of those cases, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And doing workshops with other people and things. But then I played at the Alberta Arts Touring Alliance Conference, and that led to some interesting things, including playing with part of a folk opera called Hadestown.
Oh yeah.
And I played Hades in this play, and sang the part of Hades. And it was a work that was put together by an American artist named Aeneas Mitchell, and it's gone on to win like Genie Awards and stuff. Right? It's a big hit. Like it won.
What's the first word?
What's that?
Babies?
Hadestown.
Oh, Hades.
Hades, the devil.
Oh.
Hades, yeah. Very well-known work.
Oh yeah.
And I got to work with the creator
Cool.
and her band, and toured Alberta with that show. And that was in 2012 because my daughter had just been born when I went off on tour. She was about 10 weeks old. And
So that wasn't music. That was you performing.
no, it was singing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
an
it's a
opera.
musical.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
you
an
said
opera.
that it's an opera. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was singing the part of like in the story. I was being. It was an unbelievable band. Like, really cool cast. Like other singers from Alberta as well. Stephen Shear and Chris Demeanor.
People in musical theater, I don't understand where they come from. I think it's a different planet. They got so much going on, and they have to do so much. And
Superb.
Doing good?
This is superb. Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have to wait a year and a half for this, but I'm happy. I'm even happier now than I was before.
Good.
Thank you.
You won't have to after this.
Hopefully.
Perfect.
Thanks. And so anyway, then I did a lot of work with Front Porch Roots Review out of Edmonton. Did some work with other bands, a group out of Victoria called Blue Hearts.
Sorry, Front Porch.
Roots Review.
Oh, okay.
Edmonton collaborative thing, run by Peter North.
Okay.
It's not really happening the same way right now, but I did that for a long time, and we toured a lot, and in BC and Alberta. So I kind of took on all sorts of different things over the last 10 years, and been playing at the Blues Can for about 8 years, and it's really been supportive and letting me learn and grow and write and work on my band and other things. So I just kept busy with other projects. I wrote music for a play that was produced by a group in Cape Breton that was a blacklight theater type of production. Real super interesting kid stuff.
Okay.
Really interesting. So the album opened up a lot of different things, and I started a graphic design business back about 2012, so shortly after the record came out, and worked a lot on that. So I've kept busy over the last 10 years with different projects, but I haven't released my own record. We released a Front Porch Roots Review record. I was on some other compilations and things, so little things have popped up. But
So you've been, excuse the phrase, it's not meant to be diminutive, but you've been fritting around the music and arts scenario in Calgary the whole time.
Yeah.
Just none of this stuff I would encounter, which is why I'm out of the loop, and why.
Well, I mean, in a way, Western Canadian and Alberta, like my sort of turf for like the last 10 or 15 years, maybe longer, is Western Canada, Alberta, and then Western Canada.
Right.
So there are projects I do in Edmonton that you might not hear as much about
Right.
in Calgary.
Do you know Aaron Ross?
Not really. Your name rings a bell.
She does country blues,
Right.
solo guitar. I mean,
No, I think I do. I don't know why I can't think of it.
I don't know if it's all solo guitar, but when I saw her here, and I interviewed her, and then she gave me a couple discs, and it was all solo. What was her? Oh, what's his name? Not Minnesota, Memphis.
Don't know.
I asked her for a major influence, and she said Memphis.
Oh, Memphis Mini. Yeah.
No,
No?
guitarist.
Memphis Mini.
Oh, good point. Okay, I only learned about her recently. No, not Memphis then. It's an M word.
Oh, Mama something.
John?
Yeah. Anyway, I know who I know who you're talking about. Oh, Loretta Tharpe.
No. Anyway. I mean, I call it country blues. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what she would call it, but what surprised me when I talked to her, and so that was 6 or 8 years ago, it was part of my discovery that Alberta has a rampant music scene. She performed 5 nights a week in different places, like not in one place. She would travel around Alberta, playing in a couple nights in one place, a couple nights in another. Every weekend she was out somewhere different, and then back into Calgary, and then out again. And that was also part of me discovering, like, can you actually live like that in around here? Like, that just amazed me that there was that much interest.
That much work. Yeah.
So, and do you find that and without wandering off into your jack of all trades, I've done everything musically thing, which has been pretty obvious by this point. Sticking to the guitar, because I gotta limit you somehow.
Yeah.
Like how much do you find, how do you find that work going? And let's exclude the pandemic as being an aberration.
Right. The blues can has been essential in order for me to stay as busy as I have been. The touring aspect and has wound down a little bit for me, but I hope it comes back up again. But the last 10 years or so since the birth of my daughter, it's been a time where I've wanted to be more close to home, and I'm getting older, so I don't want to tour as much. But so it's kind of not wound down or wound back so much, but done a lot less traveling in the last few years. And I think there are a few less gigs, but I don't know. Like I'm pretty optimistic overall, and I think it's really about working it. And I see people, as you say, the artists you're just speaking of, or any number of people I can think of, stay incredibly busy. They're generally people who are really good at staying busy, at keeping themselves busy. They're good at pushing that. So I don't know how to answer it. We'll see what happens when I release a new record. I think there'll be a lot more opportunities for me. I'd like to get back onto the festival circuit, play folk fests and blues fests and things.
Right.
But see how that goes.
So this recording you're doing tomorrow?
Yeah, this is just a demo thing for tomorrow, but it's not the record yet.
No, but it's the same project?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so how far into that are you?
Well, it's all original. So I'm writing the whole record, and I'm about 80% done on the writing, 75, 80. I have a very clear idea of what I want it to sound like and how I want to approach it anyway. So it's really coming along. I'm very excited, actually. I feel quite emboldened and quite energized by the process. But in terms of timing, I can't really say, because I'm putting an extra step in where I'm taking the songs once they're kind of finished, in my opinion, or as finished as I can get them. I really want to run them by some other songwriters of some real influence or real level of expertise. I'd like to run the songs by them and see if there's an opportunity for them to contribute, so co-write, or at least give me some